All right, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and today we got a little bit to go through. The futures are looking pretty red for the stock market, so it'll be interesting to see whether we close severely red or flat or green today. And of course, we'll have to come back and discuss that in tomorrow's episode. In terms of Bitcoin, I want to show you some on-chain metrics, which are pretty good looking. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, sit back, relax, hit that like button, and let's get into this. I want to start by pointing out, okay, I had someone in the comments tell me that they agreed about hash wars that I've been covering on the channel, but they think that BSV, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, is going to be mined instead of Bitcoin. And I don't know if this was a troll comment or a serious thing, but I thought, nevertheless, let's just make sure we're all clear on something. Bitcoin, Roger Ver, Bitcoin Cash, okay? And the exact same thing is true if you just change this here to Craig Wright, Bitcoin, Craig Wright, BSV, okay? So please don't come at me and tell me that one of these two Bitcoin copies or Bitcoin forks is going to replace Bitcoin. There's absolutely no chance whatsoever. So moving on. Yesterday, I showed you this. Okay, I said we've got this double bottom neckline break, level 1, break out to the upside, level 2, breaks out to the upside as well. Well, as of yesterday, it appears to me that we have quite likely broken out above the top of this. So it looks like we just got rejected this morning. If I hop into this chart here and draw it like this, you could argue if we take the closes, it's in. If we take the wicks, then possibly not. But it'll be interesting to see if this thing can resolve to the upside over the coming days and weeks. Going to take you on a slight tangent for a couple of minutes here. Did you know that some public restrooms in China require face scans in exchange for toilet paper? What world are we living in at the moment? Look at this. So I guess he has enough good boy tokens to be allowed the right to toilet paper. Anyway, I had to show you that. Remember, the deficits will accelerate, okay? The debasement of fiat will also accelerate. We are dealing with exponential curves that people simply can't wrap their minds around. Bitcoin under $1 trillion market cap today is silly. And Foss comes in here and says, look, this is absolutely true. Debt spiral, acceleration supported by increased deficit spending, 5% of GDP and increased interest expense. This is grade 11 math. If the USA was rated as a corporate borrower, it would be a triple C or worse, aka broke, bankrupt. Bitcoin is the credit default swap, the insurance on default, the insurance on the USA being unable to repay their debt for the people. Over in Hong Kong, they're allowing retail investors to buy Bitcoin, according to Bloomberg. So again, we continue to see this adoption and we continue to see this on the global scale. At the same time, banks have expressed interest in providing Bitcoin and crypto-related services to clients, according to the European Commission. So this thing truly is spreading around the world like a wildfire. And I saw this from Plan B. Bitcoin is greater than the realized price, but when Bitcoin is greater than the 200-week moving average, as you can see here, really close to taking out the 200-week moving average. We only need to be a few $100s higher, and maybe I think next month we will get the print. The next dot we get at the end of February will likely see us well above both of these. And seeing this from Plan B made me wonder about the stock to flow model. And I haven't been on looking to Bitcoin in a while. This is not sponsorship or anything like that, but if you haven't used this website, I'd recommend clicking around it and see what you think. And you can see here I've got the stock to flow model. It is apparently on its way to $61,000 by 2024, which is what the stock to flow model predicts. It also predicts that we will be at $518,000 by 2025. So we spent a lot of time deviated below this. A lot of people are calling for this to be broken. However, look at the deviation above on the prior times. Nobody complains when it deviates to the upside, of course. To my mind, laws of averages say this has likely got some catching up to do, and therefore we can expect to see further upside from Bitcoin over the coming weeks. Here we have the Powell multiple, as you can see, and you can see down the bottom here, we have strongly left the green buying zone, which is normally coinciding with the bear market lows. So this is indicative that we have indeed left the bear market lows behind us and we're starting a new uptrend. It's a similar look for the MVRV score, as you can see here. So again, leaving the green down the bottom here and starting a new uptrend. The R-HODL ratio, again, similar sort of look. We've been making higher lows, of course, but most importantly, we are now exiting the green zone, looking to start another uptrend for Bitcoin. New pool, net unrealized profit and loss, as you can see here. We have moved out of capitulation and into hope and fear. And what's even more interesting is we're only $1,000 or so away from optimism/anxiety. Optimism on the way up, anxiety on the way down. So it's really interesting that all of these metrics I've showed you so far point to a higher Bitcoin price over the coming weeks and months. They also all point to the bear market lows already being in for Bitcoin. Here's the reserve risk. As you can see, coming off the back of the lowest reading ever. This tells us that the conviction amongst long-term holders is as high as it's ever been. And you can see we're also above realized price. Again, another thing that looks very constructive to upside in the near future. The top cap as well currently predicts a maximum height, a maximum top for Bitcoin of $262,000. So that is over a 10x from where we are today. The Bitcoin Lightning capacity, as you can see, continues to grow. The total number of Lightning nodes for Bitcoin, as you can see, continues to grow. Again, the trend is up and to the right. Lightning continues to be adopted. It continues to spread across the globe. And speaking of adoption, addresses with a balance greater than 0.01 Bitcoin, again, in orange here, up and to the right. Bitcoin is continuing to be adopted, and the same is true of addresses with greater than 0.1 Bitcoin. People are stacking Bitcoin, and they are doing so at a rate we have never seen before. So all of this is pure signal. All of this speaks to the bottom being in. All of this speaks to the network health being extremely high. Adoption of both Bitcoin and the layer 2s like Lightning both continue to thrive. All of this speaks to signal. All of this speaks to the bear market lows already being in, and all of this speaks to further upside over the coming weeks. Speaking of signals, there are few signals that have correlated with Bitcoin's macro inflections as tightly as China's 10-year yield. The local tops at Bitcoin's major impulse tops and the Chinese 10-year yield downtrend breaking with 3-week RSI exceeding 50. These began each of Bitcoin's last 3 largest moves. You can see whenever the Chinese 10-year yield, which is down the bottom in green, whenever we got one of these yellow triggers, massive upside was unleashed for Bitcoin over the following 6 months. Same is true here. Same is true here. Is this about to be the same again? If it is, what's most interesting about this is in each one of the prior times this happened, new highs were set 6 months from each of these signals. It took just 6 months to hit new all-time highs after each one of these signals. So when I saw this, I thought, doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound like something Camel has been banging on about, how we're going to get a left translated cycle, how instead of this 4-year cycle repeat, where we go up for 3 years and down for 1 like everyone expecting, doesn't this fit with the narrative that I have been entertaining on this channel, that perhaps we all should be prepared for something that no one is prepared for? And that would be a new all-time high that gets set in the summer of this year, followed by Bitcoin's first true 3-year secular bear market. That is to say, a bear market that lasts 3 full years. Perhaps I have confirmation bias, but I'm right until I'm proven wrong. Of course, I'm open to being proven wrong, but so far, the market has not proved me wrong. So there's not much update to make on Bitcoin. Bitcoin continues to do Bitcoin things. If we hop into this fractal chart, the question is it going to deviate away from this at some point? I would think so. I would suspect so. That's why we don't trade off fractals. But for now, it's still pretty much on pace with it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over this week. The Wyckoff accumulation continues to look constructive, as I keep showing over and over and over again. So we need to go up a little bit more, but I think if we can get above about 25.6, something like that, that should open up 28 and 30K in very quick succession thereafter. So not a great deal has changed since yesterday. The dollar is still kind of waddling its way up. This is not showing super strength to me, which I want to see. I didn't want to see super strength. If this was a move that kind of rocketed higher, that could be quite damaging. This to me is sort of waddling. Perhaps it's going to make it up as high as 105 and then roll over. So of course it can go as high as the top of this line here. That remains to be seen, one day at a time. I'm noticing the yields still creeping higher, so that is of course pressure in the stock market. The futures are currently quite red as it stands, so we'll see how that goes. Not much more to say in terms of the charts. I want to see some closes today, and then we'll do much more of a deep dive technical analysis video tomorrow. Gold trade, okay, this is why I said yesterday that this line was way too steep for me, and you can see that this already looks to be failing. Same is true of silver, so not much more to say about that, apart from let's be a bit more patient. I've got natural gas here for the first time. Not something I was super interested in, but I can't deny this chart. I mean, it's not going to go to zero, right? And we haven't seen prices this low since all the way back in December of 2020, I think, August of 2020. So there's no trade signal here. I've drawn a pitchfork. I don't usually use pitchforks too much, but if we can get some strength and follow through, if we can get back into this blue zone and even break out of here, expect me to tell you I've gone long natural gas. So for now, this is just, I'm calling this out ahead of time. I'm letting you know that I'm thinking about going long, but I do want to see some strength from nat gas before I can entertain taking the long. This will be the trigger if we can break out of the pitchfork. So that's a trade setup, something I'm looking at for the coming weeks. No change to any of these US equities since yesterday. The UKX continues to kind of push up and hang around near 8K. So we'll see what happens for that. I'm noticing the VIX is getting a little spike up. In fact, it's getting a gap and go by the looks of things. So it will be interesting to see what happens here. This is why we put the hedge on. We had to respect the trend line break. So hopefully this doesn't turn into a major volatility event, something like this. I mean, that would be pretty bad. That would mean the stock market is completely crashed and would likely invalidate the melt up However, if Bitcoin can continue to show strength like it has, then that would lead me to believe that not much is going to happen in the stock market. Of course, the Dow is still kind of sideways. And like I said before, even if it was to come down here, all the way down here, that's still a sideways move and it could still resolve to the upside. So will it, won't it? That of course remains to be seen. NASDAQ is probably going to open down at these local lows here. So we'll see what happens. Still looking for a breakout here, and then the stops can come up for the NASDAQ. And the S&P is quite interesting because we've got this green count, right? If we're still going to continue to sort of come down here, then we'll probably end up accepting this green count and rejecting the blue count. And then at least we'll know where we stand in terms of the cycle count. But this green one's much cleaner in terms of the number of days. The blue one is quite raggedy. Like most of these fall outside of the time in band window of 38 to 42 days. So it'll be interesting to see if this is what's coming. Maybe a drop into this cycle low around the end of the month into the 3rd of March, perhaps, which of course would align with Bitcoin's 60-day cycle quite nicely. And then the question is, do we get a good bounce out of here? Do we get to break out of this purple trend line? So maybe a bit of chop, maybe a bit of sideways action, maybe a bit of bleeding down over the coming week. But that's what I'm looking at. And like I said, I'll do a deep dive tomorrow because obviously yesterday the markets weren't open and it's only 10 in the morning UK time here, so the US markets aren't open at the moment either. But I'll come back tomorrow and I'll make sure I go through all of the US equity stuff with you. In the meantime, slap a like on it if you found value here today. Hit that subscribe button if you want to continue to get updates in all my trades in real time as a pro swing trader. And in the meantime, enjoy your day, enjoy your week. I'm your boy Campbell. Take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.